Those of you who just joined, as you're listening, go ahead and think about these two questions as well and put your answer in the chat. Referral lead or internet lead, and tell us why. But with that, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so this is $20 million referrals, 20 minutes to 20 million. We are preparing for your real estate business for August. Everything we talk about today is looking forward and trying to give you plenty of time to execute those things and get prepared for the month of August. So I'm Dave Velkamp, excited to have all of you on with us, and good to see so many of you coming back again. So today, in addition to some of those tips for August, we are going to be covering a few key things. We're going to talk about our second portion of our True Pro office observations, so number 2, and then we will go over stop missing 70% of the business that should be yours and talk about that. We are going to talk a little bit about human nature and turning our natural brain chemistry into referrals. And then, since we're thinking about August, that is back to school month. And so some back to school client connections. And then we got a couple things at the end that we'll add as a bonus for you. Feel free to jump in with questions or throw things in the chat as we go. And I'll have a few more questions for you along the way. All right, we have a saying around here as we get started, and maybe it's something that you want to adopt for your business too, but hard work and consistency are undefeated. And that's what the $20 million referral program is all about. There is staying consistent with your connections. And here is what we're looking at for activities for August. This is all in your activity planner. All your resources, again, are on the $20millionreferral.com website, and you can access all the scripts and dialogues there. 2 of my favorites, just to highlight the reasons to call, is the sold in your neighborhood, and for the email and text, the 5 most expensive homes. We've dived deeper into both of those in previous meetings, so check out the May and June editions if you want a few more details on that, as well as some spin-offs on those 2 ideas and ways that you can improve them and try to drive even more connections. So I encourage you to check that out. But if you haven't gone through and made sure to select your August activities, do those now. And if you don't have your events or your pop buys planned for this quarter, make sure you take the time to do that. If you're curious what we're talking about there and you're new to the program, all of this is based off of our 1-page referral plan. This is available for you to download at 20millionreferrals.com. Takes you through each month of the year, gives you all sorts of ideas for connecting and building those relationships, all to drive more referrals to your business. So you can download it there at 20millionreferrals.com. So we are looking at August. I'd like to just pull this up quick and show you, hey, there's some fun days. We kind of look at each month and say, hey, here's some days to remember. There's not any major holidays, but there are some interesting things. And maybe you want to pair up these days with something that you like to do and fit things that you're interested in, and maybe reasons to connect with some people in your sphere. So National Pickleball Day, there's a National S'more Day. Who doesn't love that? For those pet lovers out there, National Dog Day on the 26th. There is a bowling day. I believe it's National Bowling Day, like the 2nd Saturday of the month. There's even a Book Lovers Day and so many more. If you go to nationaldaycalendar.com, you can see this for every single month. Gives you great ideas for social media posts, or maybe if you're doing some pop-by gifts and you want to pair that theme up with a particular day of the year, make sure to check out this website. It'll be a nice resource for you, and it's a lot of fun. Jumping into our top pro office observations. So why do we do this? We believe very much that success leaves clues. It's right there on the screen. And so if we look at, hey, what are some of the top pros out there doing? Can we mimic some of those things? And will that be successful for us and our businesses? Chances are yes, absolutely. So we've been doing this. We're gonna have 5 different observations. We did number 1 last month. Anybody, and you can put it in the chat. Anybody remember what the office observation was for last month? Maybe put it in the chat so the rest of the group can see if they weren't here. And if not, I'll share it after we go through number 2. So again, if you know what number 1 was from last month, throw that in the chat. All right, so here's number 2. And these are all photos from actual top agent offices. Really simple and easy. And sometimes, like we talked about last month, we just need reminders about some of these things that really do work. And we see in top pro offices that they are prepared to be and to make personal connections. These are all different cards for different occasions. And so what observations do we take away from this is, 1, top pros write personal handwritten notes. Really solidifies that connection. People hold on to those things. They save those things. It's a bit of a lost art with all of our electronic devices these days. So this is a great way to stand out, and it's something the other top pros out there are already doing. They also save time and money by buying these items in bulk, having them ready, and having them in their office for whenever the occasion strikes. And they are, again, connecting on that personal level to build that relationship in trust. So again, super simple, not groundbreaking. And again, you probably knew this already, that this is a great tool to use, but just a reminder to go ahead and make sure you are prepared to take action on this and make those connections. So I hope you buy some of those things and are prepared at all times. All right, nobody seems to remember from the last meeting. So our first observation was manual tracking of some sort. So you can check that out on the previous meeting, but things, whiteboards hung up, tracking all sorts of different things, from your leads to your closings, to your pendings, to upcoming calls that you need to make, all those things, having some sort of visual and manual tracking that's always available for agents in their office. And so we do this, and why do we see this consistently from top pros is they're really designing their environment to make good habits obvious and visible. And this is something that James Clear in his book, Atomic Habits, great book if you haven't read it, proves to be true through many, many studies that have been done, and shows that just having those things readily available, visible to you, makes that habit so much easier. So consider that when you're thinking about your work environment. Okay, moving along. We're about 10 minutes in. Stop missing 70% of the business that should be yours. I have some startling statistics for you. Some are good and some are bad. So NAR reports that 90% of clients say that they would use their real estate agent again, but less than 20% actually do. 86% of clients report that they would recommend their real estate agents to someone else. That's fantastic. Sounds like you're all doing a great job. But here's some of the things that we are concerned about. 91% of agents never contact their client after the transaction. And then with that being the case, it's no surprise that 70% of consumers can't remember their real estate agent's name after just 12 months. And these are all from studies done interviewing clients out there, interviewing people who have worked with real estate agents in the past. And so these are some startling numbers. Now, I know many of you on here do a much better job staying in contact, but this is a great lesson for us to keep in mind, that we are missing out on so much potential business if we're not following through with staying in touch consistently. And so, how do we move away from this and how do we capture that 70% of our business that really should be yours? I want to suggest some things that have worked for us and hopefully they'll work for you as well. And this, again, is based on taking a shift and focusing on building bonds and trust instead of just getting through that transaction. That's important, but we really need to build that bond and trust. And so, how do we do that? We are going to leverage human nature by taking some brain chemistry and turning it into referrals. So, the whole idea here is saying, how does a human being work naturally? And based off of that, are there ways that we can better build that bond and trust so that they remember us after those 12 months and so that they refer us more often and so that we're top of mind when they hear somebody else talking about real estate? Because, like we saw in the chat right from the beginning, sounds like all of you prefer those referral leads much more than chasing down the internet leads. So, the science behind this. So, psychology has shown that people just have a natural desire to be seen, heard, and understood. It's just a part of who we are. And they've also, studies have shown that oxytocin, which is a chemical in the brain that gets released, creates bonds between people. So this is the type of the chemical that gets released and creates bonds between family members, friends, romantic partners. They've studied this, they've tracked it, and this is a key element to it. And so when you make somebody feel seen, heard, and understood, like you do in a lot of those relationships, the brain releases more of oxytocin, which establishes that bond and trust between you and that other person. That's the science behind it. So how do we leverage that science in order to build those better bonds and trust? So we've seen success with a 4-step process. And I'm going to give you an overview here. And if you'd like to dive deeper into this, we're planning on doing that in a separate event. But if it's something that interests you, just go ahead and put the word trust in the chat if you feel like a deeper dive into this 4-step process would be something that you would be interested in learning more about. So, feeling seen, step number 1 is helping people feel seen through consistent, valuable, and personal contacts using the $20 million referral program. So using that plan that we showed at the beginning and a lot of these activities that we're talking about. And that happens with all of your, non-active clients, your sphere of influence, as well as your active clients. Now, when we have active clients, we want to make sure that they feel heard using 3 specific tools. One is proactive listening, mirroring, and then labeling. We also want to make sure during that process of working with them that they feel understood. And to do that, we use what we call RE, or real estate empathy, side-by-side guiding, and then going for that's right. And then lastly, and it makes a lot of sense, for number 4, the last impression is a lasting impression. And this is based on the science that going through a whole event, people don't remember all the specifics of it. They remember the most intense emotional portion of the event and the ending. So how do we design that ending to make a lasting impression? So those are the 4 steps. And like I said, we'll dive deeper into that in another event. You can start to think about those things already and kind of get a sense for where we're going with that. But we'll give you ideas, steps in that process, definitions of each one of these tools, and how you can implement them in your business in a later event. So that's great. So I got a few folks. All right, we got lots of you interested in that. So thank you. We'll make sure that we get it on the schedule and share it with you. All right, we got just a couple minutes left. And again, I'd like to stay timely. So back to school connections. August it's back to school time. I hate to talk about it already at this point, just in early July, but it's a reality and you want to start planning for it now. So consider a school supply pop by for those of you who have people in your sphere who have school age children, specifically elementary school, maybe middle school. There's always a list of things that they need to bring to school, those crayons, those glue sticks, those markers, pair of scissors. So consider a school supply pop by for some of those people in your sphere. Fairly inexpensive, and you can see more ideas around that on the $20millionreferral.com website. Maybe it's just you donate supplies straight to the school. This is a great way to get connected with a large network and to spread your name throughout the network. It's also a great way to get connected with the administration. And think about it, every year there's always new teachers, right? Where are those new teachers coming from? Do they need a new home? Do they need help finding a place? And if you are close with a school administrator, we have seen a lot of referrals that way. So something to think about. And just imagine, every student in a certain grade or in a school all, carrying around your branded pencils or they end up going home to the parents. And those things are cheap and easy. Maybe you get them in the school color so that it's matching some of that school spirit. And, you can get, if you're ordering 2,000 pencils, they're about 20 cents a pop. So really inexpensive, easy thing to do, and a great way to make a connection. So consider that and really build a networking connection with the back to school idea. If you like that idea, just give me a thumbs up or something in the chat, but I think that would be a great way to go, and we've seen great success with it in the past. All right. Oops. Got a quick question for you. We are cruising through July, and anybody have a guess of what percentage of annual sales are closed by the end of July? Go ahead and put that in the chat if you have an idea. And while you're thinking about that, the reason why we like to talk about this and track it is it gives you a good idea of, okay, how much business has been closed for the year. So how far away am I from my goal? Does it match about how much business on average is closed for the year? Am I on track? Do I need to pick up the pace? Am I ahead of pace? And that's why we think it's important to look at these statistics for each month. And these have come from years and years of data and all been averaged and aggregated to give us a rough idea of, hey, X amount of business is closed for the year by the end of these specific time periods. All right, I got a couple of guesses. I got 60% from Brian. I got 70% from Travis. I got 75% from Joy. All great guesses. Brian, you're the winner today. It's actually 56% of annual sales are closed by the end of July. Bonus question, if anybody wants to make a guess. On average, what month of the year has the most amount of closings? I'm curious if anybody wants to throw an answer, a guess at that, and then we'll wrap up with one more thing. Ooh, I got June, May. I got some spring months coming in. So Julie says June, Joy says June, Brian says May. Tyler is the winner. Well done, Tyler. It is actually August. August, we see over 10% of the sales close for the entire year in the month of August. So that means, we're pending a lot in July and maybe the end of June to get those sales in August. So keep that in mind. Well done, Tyler. Way to know your real estate trivia. All right, lastly, just want to give a couple book recommendations. These are all books that I've read this summer, a few of them multiple times before. So Jordan Cohen, he is the #1 RE/MAX agent worldwide and has been for the last 5 years. He released a book probably about a year ago now. I've read it about 4 times. It's fantastic. Really a great read. Recommend that. Then Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. This is an awesome marketing book, not just real estate necessarily, but marketing and really clarifying your message to your customers. So recommend getting that and checking that out. That's the latest one I've read. Really enjoyed it. Really made me think about how to structure things. And then finally, The Full Fee Agent. This is another one that I've read about 3 times now, reread it again this summer. So Chris Voss was a former head FBI negotiator. It was also the author of Never Split the Difference, a fantastic negotiating book. And Steve Shull is a real estate coach. And so those two paired up a couple of years ago in 2002 and released this book. Really an interesting way to approach your business, and actually very Story Brand and The Full Fee Agent. A lot of what they talked about is very similar to some of the processes we talked about for building bonds and trust. So get out there and check out those books or get the audio books. All right. I got to wrap up because I promised you guys we would be done, and I'm 1 minute over right now. So hopefully you receive some value from this. If you receive some value, let me know in the chat. Always like to get some feedback on if these things are going to be helpful for your business going forward. It helps us define what we put in the material next as well for those tips and tricks, and keep things just moving forward for you. So, but if you've received value, all we ask is that you share it with a friend, invite them to come along next time, or keep our firm in mind if you come across any agents who are looking for something new or different like we are offering up here. So with that, we will wrap up. I can stick around for some questions if you have anything, but we hope this gets you a good start for your month of August.